Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dental Handoff. I'm Dr. Kelly Tanner, and today I have with me Dr. Ashley Lerman. Ashley is a pediatric dentist. And Ashley, I am so excited for everyone to hear your story because you have so much to tell through your journey of being a pediatric dentist, a entrepreneur, I guess. Is that what you would call it? And then just life and bringing those things together. So welcome to the show.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I know we have so much to unpack and just really excited.
Yeah. So I always start with the question, why dentistry for you? Did it choose you? Did you choose it?
Great question. So I actually grew up with a family of dentists. My dad's a general dentist. My mom's a periodontist. So I grew up in their small 2-chair mom and pop office, helping run the phones. I remember I'd be in the back with a blown up glove balloon playing that if a babysitter fell through or whatnot. So I was always exposed to it. There was a lot of conversation at the dinner table around it. And I personally love the creative hands-on nature of it. You're able to do little microsurgery, help people's lives get better. So it really spoke to me early on just from constant exposure.
Yeah. And then, so did you know when you were in dental school that you wanted, or even before that you wanted to go to pediatrics, or when did that occur to you?
I definitely didn't know. I hadn't been exposed to it really before dental school. I knew I didn't want to do perio. I wasn't really interested in doing long surgeries. So what felt like the exact opposite with peds is just quick, dynamic, fast, and then bread and butter procedures like crowns, fillings, etc. So peds really spoke to me. I love the psychology behind it. I love the preventive aspect and working with the family unit.
Yeah, there's a special place, I think, in heaven for every for every dentist and healthcare provider, but pediatric, I mean, you have to really love it because if as a provider, as I can't imagine not only managing the child and also managing the patients, the parents or the caregivers experience as well from those past exposures to the dentist. That's which one do you feel like can be more of a barrier sometimes? I would think it'd probably be the parent or the caregiver.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of times, sometimes without realizing it too, parents or caregivers may be projecting their internal anxiety, whether it's from past trauma from the dentist, whatever it may be. And kids are extremely perceptive. They pick up on these things. So I think being a provider, I found that getting on the same page with everyone, parent and child, and making sure we're all aligned in terms of expectations, conversation, what words we should use, shouldn't use in the office, like scary words like shots, etc. Things like that really help set the stage before the appointment even starts, and definitely before any restorative appointments for fillings, etc.
Yeah. Did you do happy visits in your practice?
I have been exposed to them. I worked in a lot of offices where they didn't have those, but I do totally understand them desensitizing visits, whatever you may call them, for all age ranges, honestly, and for different special needs as well, for sensory needs. So bright light, smell, sound. So I think that's actually a really nice benefit of pediatrics to have the ability to offer that to families who need it.
Yeah, I was thinking when I first learned about you that I went to your website, Firstgrin, and it took me back to when I had my daughter. So I'm transitioning you guys now. She's a pediatric dentist, but she also has a company that I want her to talk about and some of her experiences getting to where she is today, because it is no joke bringing something from an idea into fruition and then offering it online, and not sure wherever else you're going to tell us, I know where else it's available. But I remember as a first time parent, Ashley, how many questions I had. I mean, you could read what was that? What was that book? It was the book that everybody had on how to be a parent. What was that book?
Like What to Expect.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a really popular one. Yes, exactly.
Yes, it's like the standard issue that everybody had.
Yes.
And there's no manual for what to do on page, at day 473,
No.
And then I remember, well, I'm a hygienist. And so I'm thinking, okay, what do I do before? And I know what to do, but then I'm wondering, okay, do I have the best of this? Do I have the right washcloth? Because as a first time parent, I know I'm speaking to a lot of you guys and you guys hear me. You're so in your head about everything. I remember asking my mother, okay, I cannot make this up. I said, Mom, okay, what about on a really hot day? And when I need to put my daughter Carter into the car and she's in the basket, how do I let the car cool down? And do I let her sit outside? What do I do? Where do I put the car? And she's like, Kelly, she started laughing. She said, I'm sure you're going to figure it out at that time. And I'm like, what do you mean? There's no right answer. I mean, so take that, apply it to everything medical that goes on with the child there, all those visits, and then adding dentistry on top of that, and not knowing the sights, the sounds, and how to care for your child. And when they're fighting you, right? They're like, I don't want that in my mouth. And so tell us about how this came to be, Firstgrin came to be in your life, like when it dropped down as an idea and you said, I can help people with this.
Oh my gosh, so many things to unpack there. And as a mom of 2 young kids, now I relate on so many levels, but we'll rewind to when I started Firstgrin, which was when I was 28. This is before I had kids. This was my first job out of residency. I was working in upstate New York and I was seeing between 60 and 80 patients a day, 10-hour days. I'd come home and be horizontal. And I would tell my husband, like, this is crazy. I feel like a broken record talking to parents because they'd bring their 3 and 4-year-olds in for their first visit. They'd have a mouthful of cavities. And I knew there was a better way to amplify the message of prevention education. So that's when the wheels started turning. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I decided one day to go to a pharmacy and make a kit. This was a time where the kits were really big. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Put a bunch of stuff in, found my first customer on Reddit, who was a grandmother shopping for her grandchild's baby shower. And I followed up. She loved it. And I started actually making kits that way. After that, fast forward, I promised myself a year at this really busy clinic. Stayed there a year. After that, launched Firstgrin full on. Wanted to add a digital component, so we built out the oral care companion app. And my vision for this is sending parents what to use, how to use it, and when, because we are so thrown into the deep end with everything, let alone oral care, which obviously falls to the wayside. So that was my vision in starting it.
So how to help people just put it all together, and almost like the goodie bag when you go to the dentist, but for home care for parents to say, here's what I would recommend as a pediatric dentist to start. And it looks like then you have a kit, and you guys, this may sound like an info commercial because you know that's not my jam. But when I looked on her site, I was like, where was this when I had young kids? Like, honestly. So you have one for the younger children, and then one when they become toddlers, and then we need one as adults too. But
that's right. That's right.
Take that to, okay, this is what I think everyone needs. How did you get to that point? I mean, obviously there's common things, but then there's certain things that people are like, I don't know if I like that. So how did you decide on what goes in it?
Yeah, it changed a lot. It was trial and error, to be honest. I put stuff in. I followed up with every single customer being like, what'd you like? What didn't you like? Don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. Be as critical as possible, because that's really where the product refinement came from. And aside from just going direct to the consumer, so selling over social media, whatever that may be, I knew there was a bigger play for prevention through the payer and insurance space, because we know that a new and expecting mom for maternal oral health, it's connected to the infant's oral health. So in order to educate and prevent, we really have to get in the door early. So it's connecting that dental to medical in a way that people can engage. So that's why I love the idea of a beautiful baby shower kit, however you want to call it. It's really nice to open. And I want it to be practical, because you also get so much clutter as a parent that you may not use or use once, etc. This is something that's going to help you build habits at home. And that's what I'm so passionate about, and empowering families with the tools and information for that.
Yeah. So I love how you talked. I was just thinking about this the other day, unrelated, but related. Even wind that back a little bit more, when mothers are expecting at the OBGYN office, and the importance of their oral health and the outcome of the infant and their child and lifelong things, right? And so it does start early, to your point, because I started winding that back as like, I wonder if my doctor is talking about oral health with his patients. And of course, I'm talking about it. I asked him during COVID, I said, I said, how are you checking out people's oral health if everybody's wearing a mask? He's like, Kelly, only you would think of that. And I was like, well, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. So I'm glad to know that this is something that if you think about the socialization around having a baby, everyone has now it seems like a gender reveal or a baby shower. So I love how you leverage that to bring that in.
Yeah, and I think that's a really nice edge of what Firstgrin does. The communication and messaging around everything. We don't want to send parents home with a one pager in size 12 Times New Roman about oral health, because when you're a tired and new parent, all you're concerned about is sleeping and making sure your baby's gaining weight. So obviously oral health falls to the wayside. I'm so sensitive to that. But if we could plug in and make oral health just 1% of the brain space, I consider that a win. I want people to turn to Firstgrin when that first tooth is coming in, when they're thinking about teething, because it is so early. That's around 6 months, and people are bringing kids into the dentist for their first visit between ages 3 and 4, and they have full mouths of teeth, routines, diets down to a T at that point.
Yeah. And I can imagine that some of your personal stories weighed in on just thinking about some of the scenarios you've seen and just thinking about the impact that you can make by, I say the small gesture, but it's a large gesture, but it's a small one, with the kits that you're making. It's the top of mind type of thing that's tucked in the bathroom at the bottom of, oh, okay. Even if people wait until they see the first tooth, right? They already have it there. It's been recommended by a pediatric dentist. It's, approved by a pediatric dentist. What are some of the most compelling stories or pieces of feedback you've gotten?
Yeah, I mean, I think the feedback has been so positive based on the stories that I share from clinical experience working in extremely high need populations, but this isn't specific to only high need population. Anyone will benefit from the education prevention. I know I ask all of my friends about oral care, and it's often so overlooked and not mentioned, maybe because it's assumed we know what we're doing, but as parents, we know we don't for the most part. At the end of the day, we know that cavities are kids' number one chronic disease. And I don't think that's a coincidence with the lack of information that we give to parents and caregivers. So this is our goal with Firstgrin, to fulfill that niche and make that easier for families.
Oh, I love that so much. So you had your first child, and tell us about what you're doing now day to day. What does your day to day look like?
Oh
Well,
my
you had your
gosh.
first child like a couple months, you have 2 now, but like, what does your
Yes.
day to day look like? Because you were a pediatric dentist and then you paused on practicing clinically for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old. I was working clinical up until 9 months ago with my second child as I was building Firstgrin. I didn't have a maternity leave. I worked on Firstgrin throughout. So it's been truly chaotic, but the growth has really spoken for itself. Like, I'm so passionate about Firstgrin. I love seeing it grow alongside my family, with my family. So my day to day really is possible with the help I have from my husband, from a nanny, because right now we're not living close to family. When we're close to
Mm.
family, I'm very grateful that they're willing to help. And it truly takes a village. Like, being a mom firsthand, I did not understand how much of a sacrifice, time, whatever it may be. You're not sleeping the night before and you still have to wake up and get on the calls. And you really have to love something to continue to push through the highs and lows of that. So the days really change day to day. There isn't a set routine, and there's beauty and a curse in that. I know I thrive off of routine, and my kids do as well. So we do our best, and our family unit thankfully is very strong. And as long as everyone's healthy and alive, like, we consider that a win, especially with the toddler who's bouncing off the walls always.
Yeah. So what made you say, okay, I'm going to pause on dentistry and do Firstgrin? Because I think this is the question, no matter how you apply this, like what type of company, whether it's a dentist um, wanting to not just stay home with their child, but making the decision to do that, or to lean into a side hustle, or to start taking classes and cut back on something for something else to take up more space in their life. What was that for you that you were like, okay, now's the time?
For me, it was that 1 year mark at that really high need clinic. I promised myself, I was like, I am going to leave clinical at this point to focus on Firstgrin, because I know there's meat here. I knew there was substance because of the feedback. People were paying for what I was putting out, and I needed to figure out a business plan. I had no idea what a business plan was. I have no business experience. But I really am passionate about the access to care and seeing that vision through in a way that's sustainable for a lifestyle as well, right? Because I can't leave a job when I'm paying for bills with my kids, et cetera. That's just the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a passion project, but also has to be monetized. So it was a balance of a lot of things. The answer is going to change from person to person, but if something's speaking to you and you're waiting for the right time, I'll tell you there is no right time. You have to set that for yourself, and you have to lean into fear, and it's uncomfortable, but that's really where true growth happens. Like I think of when you're growing up and you feel those growth spurts in your shins and you're like, oh, this is so painful. And you're laying in bed at night, but you're growing from it.
That's so true. And that's the exact same thing. You never know the right time. It's like you can overthink having your first kid and like, when's the right time to have that, to do that, to go to school, to whatever that is. But the fear that we experience on the other side of that is lying to us that we might fail, we might do that. But as compared to what? As compared to never following your dream?
Totally, totally. And actually being a mom has made me better at leaning into this skill, because when your kids are learning to walk, for example, my son started walking at 16 months and he was super wobbly getting to that point, but at no point did he give up. Like, I think that's such a beautiful trait of kids. They just keep going. They're so resilient. And I don't know at what point as adults we kind of lose that, but I think we do across the board. We're scared of, judgment, being embarrassed, fear of failure. Everyone has that. But if you don't try, you will never know. And I don't think there's anything worse than the regret behind that.
That's so true. What were some things that you told yourself? You mentioned it. I guess I'm kind of reaching into your soul a little bit here as a business owner, because we were talking before we got online that I was telling Ashley that I think that everyone should probably own a business for a year to understand what goes on. And you were connecting the likeness to being a parent and the highs and the lows of that. So if a person is thinking about doing something like this, taking that little inkling of an idea, what would be some of the first steps that you would say, do this, like looking back, what's some advice you would give them?
Yeah, I love that question. There's so much, but one that comes to top of mind is just start writing down your ideas and put one foot in front of the other. You don't need to get 100% of every single day. 1% better every day. That's my motto. Whether it's a cold email to someone you dream to partner with, that's something I consider myself 1%. If that's all I can do that day, I'm calling it a day. It does not have to be perfect, because the more you try to perfect it, the less likely you're going to perform on it. So do it, then try to perfect it, make it better down the line.
Oh, that's such good advice. Yeah, because perfection is that enemy and of doing anything, getting anything done. And I love that 1% as well. I stand by that every single day, try to do the 1% in every area of my life. Most days I do that, at least 1%. But it's also, I think also in dentistry, we are a certain type where if we don't do it perfect, we feel a little kind of way. If you think about in dental school or hygiene school or assisting school, whoever's listening, someone watching over your shoulder, just waiting for you to do the wrong thing and going, nope, you fail. And to be ridiculed, you're that judge. And some of the worst things that we can do for ourselves is that negative self-talk. And when you're a business owner, you're alone a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. I think you're spot on. And I think going back to the type of person we are going through the rigorous programs, we are trained to be so risk averse. We want to minimize any risk, any potential damage that can happen to a patient, of course. Whereas with entrepreneurship, it's all risk. You lean into risk. So they almost go head to head with each other. And that's a scary, scary feeling. And it takes time to unlearn it. And you have to remind yourself internally too. And like you said, when you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, it could be very isolating and you're alone. You don't have a team who may know what you're going through exactly. So, finding your inner community, people to vent to, whoever it may be, I think is really, really helpful.
Yeah. It's, even I think do you have a partner now in your business, or is it, other than your husband, or are you a solopreneur?
Solo. Yeah. In the beginning, I was talking to people and I kept getting asked, who's your co-founder? You can't do this without a co-founder. You need a co-founder. And I was like, wait, maybe I need a co-founder. I was looking for co-founders and I was like, wait, why? I have an idea. I think I can figure it out. And if I don't know how to do something, I'll ask. Or when I make some money, I can hire it out. And that's exactly what I did. So that comes back to like, don't let other opinions stop you. Only you know what's best, and put those blinders on and work towards your mission, and you can make it happen. I fully believe that.
Yeah, it's so easy to, I think a couple of things can happen where pie in the sky, you can you can be in debt right off the bat.
Yeah.
You could choose that, or you could be like, okay, as I grow a little bit, I'm going to hire this, or I'm going to delegate this. And as I grow a little bit, I'm going to delegate that. And how easy has it been for you to delegate?
Oh, really hard. I feel like you know the answer to this. Really hard, obviously. I knew that was a loaded question.
Yeah, it's because no one's going to do it like us, and we're like this in dentistry too. But remember, you guys, and this translates to your practice, your the assistant you're working with, the doctor you're working with. I mean, other docs that you're working with. If we don't delegate, then we're not necessarily building the trust that we need in our practice, and we're not allowing other people to bloom in their gifts, all those things, because they're there eager to help. Because sometimes I know in one of my businesses, I'm sitting there and I'm just working away, and one assistant's like, Dr. Kelly, please let me help you. And I'm like, I don't know what to delegate. I don't know what to do. So what do you have any advice on, Ashley, on how you know when to do that and how you know how to say, okay, here you go, and drop it off to them?
Yeah, great question. First of all, you need systems in place. And in order to have systems, you need to start building that team. So from the beginning, you need to understand and be humble and honest with yourself to know where your blind spots are. Every single person has them. Then finding the right people to step in to help cover those blind spots, who have those skills that you may not, so you could complement one another. That's how every successful team is built, in my opinion. And it took a long time to figure it out. And I think there was a lot of trial and error, much like everything on the entrepreneurial journey. But building systems has made things so much more efficient and so much more pleasant, because I get to lean into things that I enjoy doing. And then there are always tasks where I'm like, oh, I can't stand doing this. So that's where it's great to have someone who loves doing that, and you could just kind of fill each other's plates.
Yeah. And it's all around us and we don't realize it because we're just so used to doing it. And we've always done it. Excel spreadsheets. Can I do it?
Same.
Yeah. Is there someone in the room? Usually when I speak and I'm like, who in here loves Excel spreadsheets? I would be a room of 500, like 10 people will raise their hand. I'm like, you see these people? Get to know them.
Exactly.
But just understand that people want to see you succeed, and there's so much reward into following that gut and what you want to do to make that difference. Because Ashley, it sounds like that's what you wanted to do. You wanted to make a difference in people's lives outside of the operatory as well, that then, that led to lifelong habits.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I pictured this as my experience in that first year where I was seeing so many patients struggling was to make a loudspeaker to get this across the globe to as many people as I could reach, to instill their families with healthy habits and tools. That's how I pictured it. It's how I still picture it. Just access to care, education, prevention, and tools in a really nice brand that's warm, not shameful, whatever it may be, and trying to be understanding, because we know parenthood is hard. It's just trying to give you tools to make things a little bit easier.
Yeah, because I'm glad that you brought up shame, because as a parent, we are comparing ourselves to other parents.
Yeah.
And
Always.
we're doing it in a lot of areas of our lives, but I know that as a young parent, I was like, people would bring up toothbrush and I'm like, oh, I haven't done that yet. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
But if you have that and you're an advocate for that, and you can start that movement in some way, no matter what it is, then, embrace whatever that is and start with that 1%. Ashley, what else are you doing with this? Obviously you have your products. Is there some type of like, I'm thinking big now with you. I'm like, I want world peace with you. Right. Um, do you have like foundations set up or what do you have going on?
Yeah, so we actually work with payer partnerships. This is what I'm really excited about. So in my head, my moonshot is every single parent who leaves postpartum with a new baby receives a kit, receives some sort of access to Firstgrin, similar to how a breast pump is covered by insurance. I
Mm.
envision kits being covered by insurance, and we're in that model right now, which is so just unbelievably exciting. If you told me this 3.5 years ago, I like wouldn't have believed you, but it's just knocking on people's doors persistently. I got so many no's. I got so many, you have 12 heads, get out of here, goodbye. But the persistence and then people who share in the vision and understand being able to pioneer this forward. So that's what I'm super passionate, care about, and I'm really excited for.
That is amazing. That is amazing. So what I heard you just say is that similar to where there's a standard issue item for the care of mom or baby when they go home, this is or will be maybe one day a standard. I say a standard issue because of the health and care of someone.
Sure.
Where is that in process?
So across many different states, it usually works through the payer and where they have pregnant members, for example. So once someone's flagged for pregnancy, for example, we will preemptively send them with a kit to really focus on the prevention beforehand. Families love receiving it because it's a baby registry gift. It acknowledges a really special time in your life, and it gives you tools to prep for your family to make them healthier. So it's actually present in 49 of the states, and we're expanding beyond that across different payers too. And amazingly proud of what we're building. And don't get me wrong, a lot of hiccups along the way, but super, super proud of where we are.
There's such a lesson in this. That is amazing. Congratulations. And not because of self, but what you're able to give and your vision and following that through. Because I know none of this is about ego, right? And it's very almost like human sacrifice to a lot of this.
Yeah, it's funny because someone was talking about being in sales the other day, and I'm so not a salesperson. I've never considered myself to be a salesperson. Again, it was just the mission and amplifying it. That's what I always break it down to. So that was the first time it came up, and I love that you're bringing that up now too, because it's not ego. It actually makes me uncomfortable when it comes back to me and like doing this. It's really just after having seen so many families struggle and going down the path of shame, anger, feeling like the dental provider is greedy, like that sucks. I don't like being that person to talk to a family, talk them down from a ledge. So I wanted to create something better for families.
That's so amazing. I want to talk about one more thing before we wrap up.
Sure.
And this is something that I talk about all the time, the moonshot. The thing that you said, if you would have told me 3 years ago that this would have been something, what do you tell yourself now knowing that happened? Now here you are. What's your next moonshot?
I'm such a big believer in positive self-talk, and I'm so guilty of negative self-talk. I'm going to look like an idiot. They're going to say no. I'm going to fall on my face. I'm going to fail, whatever it may be. But you need to learn to speak in the complete opposite. You need to think about, what if everything goes right? What if I can attain this? Because really the sky's the limit, and how far Firstgrin has gone has shown me that. So if you're persistent, you have the right message, you have the right mission, you're talking to the right people. And I really believe in, focusing on your goal and expanding that for the better good. As cliche as that sounds, I think you really can get there. It just takes time and persistence, and even on the bad days, one foot in front of the other, even if it's that 1%.
Yeah. Yeah. So just believe in your vision too, because everyone I speak to and with who has been where you and I have been, it's like, I never would have thought that was possible.
Yeah.
And what bridged that gap, and how amazing is that? So you guys, Ashley, thank you so much for coming on today to tell your story. I hope that you all have been encouraged by this. If you all want to reach out to Ashley. Her information is in the show notes, and her information is on the screen, obviously, there now too. And there's also the website, which is yourfirstgrin.com, which is amazing. I went on there and I was like, this makes me feel so happy. Just the site makes me feel happy.
I love that. That makes me happy to hear.
I know it did. I was like, oh, where I want to go, oh, I love this. I just want to have this in my life. So, thank you so much for your time today and all that you're doing to make a difference in everyone's life.
Thank you for this amazing conversation and for your platform and all that you do as well. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashley. And to listeners, you know that I always ask a favor of you. Please go on over to Apple Podcasts to rate the Dental Handoff a 5-star rating. And if you're on YouTube, please go ahead and press the little like button and subscribe so the algorithm recommends it to other people you know will love the show. Thank you for all that each of you do to touch the lives that you do every day. I will see you again next week, my friends. See you later. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you.